Okay, so for this video, we have to take a little bit more of a look at the grammar and the verb conjugation. And this is going to be not the easiest topic, so I'm going to show you plenty of examples, and you'll see what I mean. So you might have noticed, and if you didn't, that's okay, some of the verbs change a little bit more than other verbs. And they're called spelling change verbs or stem changing verbs. And in the present tense, we have three different types. We have verbs that have a change of an E to an IE. Then we have an O to a UE change. And then we have an E to an I, which you can see is much less common because there's only one type of verb that will have that change. And when this happens, it's because there's some type of sound that needs to be preserved when the verb's conjugated. And in order to preserve like a hard G or a hard C sound, there's slight spelling changes in the conjugation. I want to show you this by showing you an example of a regular verb. I'm going to use hablar. We know that that means to speak. And just reminding you, going over how we conjugate. Taking off the AR, I'm left with my word root, hablo. I'm adding my new ending. I included the endings here for you. Hablo. And then if I'm conjugating in the to form to ask a question, hablas. I'm only changing the verb one time. I have that highlighted in red. And it's pretty straightforward. Hopefully you're getting used to this by now, even though it's a process. Now with a spelling change verb, hablar is an AR verb, which you can see here. All of these are AR in this column. And that's why they're getting the AS ending in the to form. But let's take a look at a spelling change verb. Let's use comenzar, which means to start, to begin. When I go to conjugate this verb, I have to do an extra step. I'm going to take the E, because looking at comenzar, it's in this column. The E has to change to an IE. That's the first thing I like to write, is the change. That E became an IE. And I'm also going to take off my AR ending. The letters that are left, I'm going to write below. Calm was before the E, and then an NZ was after. And now I can put my ending. Well, I know that it's the yo form, it's going to end in an O. Comienzo. Now I have how to say, I begin. Just like with hablo, except we have two unique changes, not one. That's the big difference with these verbs. If I wanted to conjugate this in the to form, I'm still going to copy this root with the different letters. And I'm putting on my ending for to, comienzas. So hopefully this makes sense. It's just like verb conjugation, where it's something you have to get used to. The more you practice it, the easier it's going to get. And I'm going to go ahead and give you a few more examples so that you can really see some of these changes. So we've already conjugated comenzar. Let's go ahead and conjugate the next two with the same style. Querer, which is to want. We're going to be using actually both of these for ordering food. And preferir, which is to prefer. Both two really common verbs that are going to be really useful. I'm going to put my yo and my to over here. The first thing I'm doing with querer is I'm going to change the E to an IE, take off my verb ending. I'm going to write down the letters I have left. And now I have my new root. And I know the yo always ends in O. Quiero. Now for the to form, I'm using the same word root. I'm just changing the ending. I'm going to keep the change in black so that you see it. Now this is an ER verb, so this has to end in an ES, not an AS, like hablar. Quieres. And now I have I want, quiero, and you want, quieres. I'm going to do the same thing with preferir. Going to X out the E and change it to an IE, taking off my IR ending and writing what's left. I'm going to write it twice, and then I'll add my new endings. Prefier. So the O is going to be the O form, prefiero, and the to, prefieres. Remember that the IR verbs are going to still end with an ES. Now I'd like to show you some more examples. More examples are better for these types of verbs. I know they're confusing. I'm going to show you the next batch. Almorzar, which means to lunch, to eat lunch. Doler, we haven't seen before, but I included it as an example of this type of verb. And dormir, you may or may not have used when we did our daily routine, to sleep. This is going to be a O to UE change. So I'm going to go ahead and write that first for all of my verbs. Taking off my endings. Last two letters, doesn't matter what they are. And writing what's left. Okay, and now I'm ready to add my O for my yo ending. So almorzar, to lunch, now I'm saying almuerzo, I lunch. Doler, to be painful to, duelo, I am painful to. And hopefully you don't say that, because usually you say something's painful to me, hopefully you're not being painful to someone else. And duermo, I sleep. Now there's one that is a really big exception, but it's one that is going to come up a lot. Jugar. It doesn't end in it doesn't have an O in it, but it conjugates in this same way, where the U is becoming a UE, and it's just a very random exception. But I wanted to include it because it is one changing the U to a UE. Taking off my AR, writing what's left. Jueg. It is one that's so common to say I play. You can play all kinds of sports or games. And now putting my O. Juego. This is going to be, it's another level of verb conjugation. I'm not going to downplay it. It's going to be a little confusing. But the more that you practice, the more that you do your reading comprehension and you get a chance to conjugate these verbs, the easier it becomes, like everything else. Now, I'm not going to do the to form. I'm going to let you do that in your practice, but I want to show you the last set. These are only going to be IR verbs, the last one, where the E changes to an I. They're not very common. Not nearly as common as the other ones that we saw, but we have to take a look at them anyway. So I'm going to show you both. Pedir is to ask for something. We're going to use that also when we order. And medir is to measure. Right away, I'm going to go ahead, change my E to an I. And I'm taking off my last two letters. Don't have much left, but that's okay. Ped, med. Adding my O. So now I have pedo, I ask for, I request, and medo, I measure. Now that hopefully you've seen a good amount of examples, I'd like for you to go ahead and do the practice, which is going to help you to conjugate these in the to form and to fill in some blanks. And then move on to the other activities where you'll see more examples of these.